have in their country. They should arrest it and solve their problem, not depending on the cocaine and Indian him and naked. Honestly speaking, we God bless Trump for what he did in Venezuela and other parts of the. And you say what's happening in Greenland? Why is this to do? The Greenland is telling the whole world that there is a striking a situation whereby we will not like Russia or China to come and have their place in that place. In case there is some Cold War, that they will use that place as a place to attack America. You see, not because the leader wants a focus. So Nigeria should think on anybody who wants to be a leader in this country or any part of the world, focus and see that God says, when God says, come and do the job, God has given you the package. Good morning, man. My name is
Thank you very much, Mazi, for your contribution. Yes, in support to what you've just said, I think one of the most prominent radical politician in South Africa, Julius Malema, only recently told the South African people and tried to remind them that they shouldn't forget the role Nigeria played during the apartheid policy, ensuring that Nigeria emancipate their fellow blacks in South Africa. Yes, President Olusegun Obasanjo, then as head of state in 1976, expended over $400 million to try uh, to serve as aid to the black South Africans. And when there was this issue of Switzerland, who was supporting the apartheid policy, participating in the Olympics in 1976, President Olusegun Obasanjo then led a 27-nation boycott of the Olympics in support of the struggle in South Africa, and that really affected the 1976 Summer Olympics in Montreal, in Canada. The Olympics now look like a child's play. So, and immediately after the games, the International Olympic Committee had to take a decision to ostracize South Africa from the Olympic family. It was because of that single action taken by the Nigerian head of state that resulted in the outcome of that decision by the International Olympic Committee in 1977. So Nigeria has aided South Africa in several ways. As a matter of fact, jointly, Nigeria has spent over $4 billion trying to emancipate South Africa. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Joel Monka. Talk earlier on.
Okay, you're welcome back.
Thank you very much. I must have to tell you I'm happy with this program. Simply because when you're running through the major headlines, I discovered that this particular issue is critical in the current situation in Nigeria as a whole. From the eve of the independence, the power sharing formula, the quarter system that was introduced, and then the implication on the contemporary political permutation, and looking at 2027 in perspective, it is very, very vital. It will interest you to know that at the eve of the independence, Nigeria was already divided into three regions. That's the western region, the northern region, and then the eastern region. Now, if you look at the political configuration at that particular time, you will know that governments that was sown in that particular time, it is still affecting the politics of Nigeria today when it comes to rotational democracy and as well as issues of power in Nigeria. Another area again that you were talking about issues of countries or regions that face a series of military interventions. I think Colombia is a very better example. Colombia, yes. I think about 129 coup d'etat so far recorded in that particular. They now coming down, that's in South America. Now coming down to Africa in perspective. You look at what is happening in DR Congo. You look at what is happening in Cameroon. You look at what has happened during the apartheid regime. But then, what is the lesson for us as Nigerians? Is it that some of the things that are being done in Nigerian, within the power grid in Nigeria, do you know that our militaries are even being politicized, that they cannot even say anything when it concerns taking over power. The democracy we are practicing, despite the fact that it is an American carbon copy democracy, we do not really have a traditional African democracy that tends to really co-opt the interests of our people. The question is that are you aware that you can see even over the news there were some officers that will be court martialed for having an attempt to oust President Bola Ahmed Tinubu out of office. But why is it that coup d'etat that after Nigeria joined the democratic institution, why is that coup d'etat become very difficult? Simply because the military have been politicized. Now, in a situation whereby there's insecurity in a country like Nigeria, if not for the coming of the current Minister of Defense that has on some strategies on ground to really see that these issues are well down, I am very, very sure if the security situation will continue, there wouldn't be election in 2027. So we should be able to connect history with the contemporary. We should be able to connect history with the recent. What are the problems that we're facing in our own community or in our immediate community that tends to look like the way that's happening in South Africa? Now, if you check the peculiarity of the problems in South Africa is different from the one in Nigeria because that of Africa it is the apartheid regime and as well as the freedom fight that really took place in South Africa. For that of Nigeria, the issue is different. That of Nigeria, religious matter tends to really take a more effect the highest. So, in a nutshell, I wanted to tell you that I really appreciate this particular program. And some of us wouldn't mind to be part and parcel of this particular program because we are going to delve into issues that is going to really propose solution. And I really want to say it comes to you, the convener of this program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Longcat. We are going to try to get across to you. We'll get your number, the phone number now. Ayub Adams is going to call you. So we fix a date where we can come to the studio and talk together on some of these issues. Then, still talking about South Africa, beside the National
Hello,
Congress.
Mr. Ferdinand, once again.
Okay.
One of your other listeners has already alluded to the fact for Nigeria to move forward, purpose must be understood. And sometimes the problem of our own stuff, nobody should be held accountable. Not like Walter wrote his book in one of his outstanding works. He said, how do you know that they will Africa? But one of my close associates, my elder principal, who just spoke out to you on the studio, that Africa underdeveloped Africa.
Yes, that's a different book.
Sometimes the problem of our
It's a
own
different
stuff,
book.
nobody should be held accountable for your own. You should be held liable. So what we're saying is that this history deck has actually proffered solution and then looking forward, trying to bring the country one because all the messages were spreading across is about unity. That's part of the event that unfolded. They were going through national healing. So that's the point I'm making. Thank you very much for giving me.
Thank you very much, Aliu Garba.
Give my own input.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
So we also talked about the Sand Rivers Convention that helped South Africa to gain independence in 1852. But we're going to leave there now. Then we talked about the the assassination of Patrice Lumumba on the 17th of January 1961. Yes, in a complicity that involved the government of the United States of America and Belgium. They both supported the killing of an African leader. And nobody has been held culpable for that dastardly act to date. Then also the killing of Laurent Kabila. Some said his son was culpable, but that has not been substantiated. Nobody has brought that up. He was killed on the 16th of January 2001 by one of his bodyguards, Laurent Kabila. And the bodyguard himself was killed before he was tried. So nobody can say who sent him. That is it. So if you want to read books on Congolese history, yes, we have some prescriptions. If you want to read books on Congolese history. You get this book, American Imperialist, Cruelty and Consequence in the Scramble for Africa by Owen Mohun. Get this book. Then An Archive of Possibilities, Healing and Repair in Democratic Republic of Congo. This book is written by Rachel Marie Nichols. An Archive of Possibilities, Healing and Repair in the Democratic Republic of Congo by Rachel Marie Nichols. You should read these books. Then there's this other book, Politics in Congo, Decolonization and Independence, Princeton Legacy Library by Crawford Young. That's the name of the author. Then you try to get these books. Then also internationally, let's talk about this. On the 24th of January 1989, notorious serial killer Ted Bundy, with over 30 known victims, was executed by the electric chair. Ted Bundy was executed by the electric chair at the Florida State Prison in the United States of America. Full name, Theodore Robert Bundy. He was an American serial killer, kidnapper, rapist, burglar, and neurophile who assaulted and murdered numerous young women and girls during the 1970s and possibly earlier. Shortly before his execution, and after more than a decade of denials, he confessed to 30 homicides that he committed in 7 states between 1974 and 1978. The true number of victims is unknown and possibly higher. Many of Bundy's young female victims regarded him as handsome and charismatic, which were traits that they exploited to win their trust. He would typically approach them in public places, feigning injury or disability, or impersonating an authority figure before overpowering and assaulting them at more secluded locations. He decapitated at least 12 of his victims, and for a period of time, he kept some of the severed heads as memos in his apartment. In 1975, Bundy was jailed for the first time when he was incarcerated in Utah for aggravated kidnapping and attempted criminal assault. He then became a suspect in a progressively longer list of unsolved homicides in multiple states. Facing murder charges in Colorado, he engineered two dramatic escapes in 1914. And from 1914 to 1915, soon after the establishment of the Fatimid Caliphate in Ifriqiya in the year 909, the year 914, not 1914, the year 914 earlier, then 909 here, the Fatimids launched an expedition east against the Abbasid Caliphate under the Berber general Habasa ibn Yusuf. Habasa succeeded in subduing the cities on the Libyan coast between Ifriqiya and Egypt and captured Alexandria. The Fatimid heir apparent Al-Qaim bi Ama'ala then arrived to take over the caliphate. The attempt to conquer the capital, Fustat, were beaten back by the Abbasid troops in the province. A risky affair, even at the outset. The arrival of Abbasid reinforcements from Syria and Iraq under Muniz al-Muzaffar doomed the invasion to failure, and al-Qaim and the remnant of his army abandoned Alexandria and returned to Ifriqiya in May of 915. In May of 915. If you want to read books about the Fatimid Caliphate, then there are a couple of books. The Ismail Dawa and the Fatimid Caliphate. Read this book, The Ismail Dawa and the Fatimid Caliphate by Paul Walker, edited by Carl Petrie. The book was published for the first time online by Cambridge University Press on the 28th of March 2008. You can get this book, The Ismail Dawa and the Fatimid Caliphate by Paul Walker, published online by Cambridge University Press. Then you can also look for this one, State and Society in Fatimid Egypt series, Arab History and Civilization, author Yaakov Lev. Author Yaakov Lev. You can get these books online if the hardcovers are difficult to get. Then on the 25th of January 1971, the commander of the Ugandan army, Major General Idi Amin Dada, led a coup which deposed the government of President Milton Obote and became Uganda's maximum ruler. General Amin was aware that President Obote was planning on arresting him for misappropriating army funds and launched the military coup, subsequently declaring himself president. During his years in power, Amin shifted from being a pro-Western ruler, enjoying considerable Israeli support, to being backed by Libya's Muammar Gaddafi, Zaire Mobutu Sese Seko, and the Soviet Union as well as Eastern Germany. In 1975, Amin became the first chairman of the Organization of African Unity, a pan-Africanist group designed to promote solidarity among the African states. During the 1977 to 1979 period, Uganda was a member of the United Nations Commission on Human Rights. You can't beat that. In 1977, when Britain broke diplomatic relations with Uganda, Amin declared he had defeated the British Empire and added CBE for Conqueror of the British Empire to his title. Radio Uganda then announced his entire title, His Excellency President for Life, Field Marshal Alhaji Dr. Idi Amin Dada, VC DSO MCCBE. Descent within Uganda and Amin's attempt to annex the Kagera region of Tanzania in 1978 led to the Uganda-Tanzania War and the demise of his 8-year regime. Amin then fled into exile, first to Libya and then in Saudi Arabia, where he lived until his death on the 16th of August 2003. Amin's rule was characterized by rampant human rights abuses, political repression, ethnic persecution, extrajudicial killings, nepotism, corruption, and gross economic mismanagement. The number of people killed as a result of his regime is estimated by international observers and human rights groups to range between 100,000 to 500,000. If you want to read books about Amin or Ugandan politics, then you can get this book, Idi Amin, The Story of Africa's Icon of Evil, by Mark Leopold. That is the author, Mark Leopold. Idi Amin, The Story of Africa's Icon of Evil. The book was first published on the 31st of August 2021. Mark Leopold wrote that book. There another book you can read, A State of Blood. A State of Blood, The Inside Story of Idi Amin Dada by Henry Kiemba. You can look for that book. Some of these books you think you can't get them. You can get them. As I will always tell you, those bookkeepers at Rampam Street, do not underrate them. Do not underrate them. Even if they don't have the book, just tell them, they'll give you this. So long as your money is available, those guys will do magic. They'll get you books. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from? Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Then there's another book, Slow Poison. Slow Poison. Subtitles, Idi Amin, Yoweri Museveni, and the Making of the Ugandan State by Mahmoud Mandani. You can read that book. I can assure you, you won't regret it. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Ferdinand.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you very much. Welcome back on air.
Thank you.
Adeomi calling from Bujiro.
Adeomi, you're welcome to the show, your contribution.
Thank you very much. God continue to bless you for your good work.
Amen.
Honestly speaking, I'm happy always you give us history as regard Africa.
Thank you.
Honestly, you see, the major thing I will say this morning, if you come out to talk about great icons in this country, in this current time of ours, I think you just have to call the name of Nelson Mandela. You understand?
Yeah.
And when you even name that book, I think the little thing I was able to see was just like a young man who right from onset, from his secondary days, as a student, was being able to ensure that he has been able to fight for justice. You understand? Continue to strive for justice and ensure that over decades, he don't give up. And he eventually won. You understand? What are we doing as a country? As Nigeria, you will see that the type of power and even belief in the life of Nelson Mandela is a thing that is worth emulating. And that is the essence of history. Can we begin to come together as a nation, as a Nigerian? When you gave us the 4 young boys who stood at the annulment of Abiola, MKO Abiola, you can see courage. You understand? You can see see unity. How many people are there today? Being a Christian, a Muslim, I'm a Yoruba, I'm an Igbo, I'm an Hausa man. Can we begin to come together and have that courage and have to believe that one day this country will be better, and one day we will probably get the right thing to be done the way we want to see them. God continue to bless you for your good work.
Thank you very much, Adeomi, for your contributions. Thank you very much. So these books I just read, I just told you about Idi Amin, the story of Africa's icon of evil. Idi Amin, the story of Africa's icon of evil. You can get it online. You can get the hardcover by Mark Lepore. Then A State of Blood, the inside story of Idi Amin by Henry Kiemba. You can also look for that. Then there's this other book, Slow Poison, subtitle Idi Amin, Yoweri Museveni, and the Making of the Ugandan State by Mahmoud Mandani. You can look for these books. You can't get the hardcover, you can get them online and study them. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
I just tuned into your program now. I had a Abiola issue and Indian issue. I didn't start with you from the beginning.
Okay.
But that notwithstanding, I think Abiola issue should not be compared with any political or politicians in this country. What made Abiola very popular, you all know it. There is no state that Abiola did not contribute either in terms of financial assistance or structure in polytechnic or federal university. You see, Abiola, you are coming, no state. That's why you see every state, getting a kind of crown. The king of the king. No state that doesn't give him a kingship award. You understand me? Not kind of position we see today with empty pocket. You say you want to rule a country. It was not like that with Abiola. No state that Abiola did not play. No state, no institution, no religious institution that Abiola did not play. That's why his election was very, very clean and clear. Nigeria is finding it difficult to beat today. You understand me? People should know it very clear. And people like you that you are a media man, always explain to us there's a difference between Abiola election from the election we are seeing today. You understand me? And the people who always say opportunity comes but once. You understand me? God gave us that very clean opportunity, but a single man accused it. You understand me? Which is Babangida, who annoyed it. And later regret after his government. You understand me? It's just unfortunate. We should take away sentiment in our life. Take away all things that doesn't work for a country. We should take it away if we really want to move forward with this country. You understand me? So that apart, coming on Uganda, you said, Gaddafi, I see his case, because at the end of the day, he ran away. He left the country to exile. What you cannot end, don't start it. You understand me? The Indian of Uganda.
Yeah.
In fact, anybody that knows his history, not a man one should follow. He's not a man one should emulate. He's a really terrible leader. What ends him? He ends terribly. You understand me? He ran away from the country and went to an exile. Anybody that wants to fight the country or wants to mess up the country, stay. Don't run away.
Okay.
Don't run away. Stay.
Yeah, thank you very much for your contribution. Thanks a lot for your insightful contribution. On the 26th of January 1952 in Egypt, Reuters bombed Cairo Central Business District, targeting British and upper-class Egyptian businesses in what is today known as the Black Saturday. The Cairo fire, also known as Black Saturday, was a series of riots that took place on 26 January 1952, marked by the burning and looting of some 750 buildings, retail shops, cafes, cinemas, hotels, restaurants, theaters, nightclubs, and the city's opera house in downtown Cairo. The direct trigger of the riot was the killing by British occupation troops of 50 Egyptian auxiliary policemen in the city of Ismaila in a massacre one day earlier. The spontaneous anti-British protests that followed these deaths were quickly seized upon by organized elements in the crowd who bombed and ransacked large sectors of Cairo amidst the unexplained absence of security forces. The fire is thought by some to have signaled the end of the Kingdom of Egypt. The perpetrators of the Cairo fire remain unknown to this day, and the truth about this important event in modern Egyptian history has yet to be established. The disorder that befell Cairo during the 1952 fire has recently been compared to the chaos that followed the anti-government protests of 25th January 2011, which saw demonstrations take place amid massive arson and looting, an inexplicable withdrawal of the police, and organized prison breaking. You can get a few books on the 1952 happenings in Egypt. Now, let me recommend one of these books. You can get it online as quick as possible. You can get it now on your phone. The Cairo Fire of 26 January 1952 and the Interpretations of History by Anne Claire Keboff. You can get that book by Anne Claire Keboff. Then another one you can look for is Shepherds of Cairo, The Birth of the Oriental Grand Hotel. The book was written by Tarek Ibrahim. There's a hardcover, but in case you don't find it here in Nigeria, you can read it, study this book online. It was written by Tarek Ibrahim. And also, I will always tell you, the bookkeepers, the bookkeepers at Rampam Street, if you underrate them to your own disadvantage. Do not underrate them. If you're looking for a book, you go there, you might not get that book that very day, but those guys can perform magic. They'll get you those books. So for those of you who want the hardcover, so just try and get this book, these books. Then let's look at Pope John Paul II. Yes, on 25th January 1979, Pope John Paul II started his first official papal visit outside of Italy. Pope John Paul II started his first papal visit outside of Italy to the Bahamas, Dominican Republic, and Mexico. The Pope's first foreign journey was a three-country visit to the Dominican Republic, Mexico, and the Bahamas. Some 18 million people were believed to have greeted the Pope during his stay in Mexico. The Pope's second foreign visit was to his native homeland of Poland in June of 1979. During his reign, Pope John Paul II made 104 foreign trips, more than all previous popes combined together. In total, he logged more than 1,167,000 kilometers. He consistently attracted large crowds on his travels, some among the largest ever assembled. While some of his trips, such as to the United States of America and Israel, were to places that were previously visited by Pope John Paul VI, the first pope to travel widely. Many others were to countries that no pope had ever previously visited. Pope John Paul II, highly revered, highly respected from Poland. He replaced Pope John Paul I, who ruled as Pope for only 1 month. One issue that we'll be analyzing in time to come. Uh, you know what I'm talking about, particularly residents of the Ikeja cantonment area. Yes, an explosion on the 27th of January 2002, an explosion in Ikeja military cantonment led to over 1,100 deaths and about 20,000 others being displaced. The explosion at the military storage facility in Lagos, Nigeria, killed over 1,100 people and displaced over 20,000 others in one of Nigeria's greatest accidental explosion tragedy. Yes, it was not a good story at all. It was not a good story. It's not a good story at all. The Ikeja cantonment explosion, and that happened on the 27th of January. Or the army handled that matter. Or the army handled that matter. It's not something. that leaves to be desired, because a lot of people are not happy to date. A lot of people lost loved ones, people lost properties, that went into billions of naira because of carelessness, you know, of some persons. You are given responsibility to cater for an area and you grossly failed in your responsibility. And that was just the situation of the Ikeja cantonment bomb blast of 2002. Early January, and we're facing this kind of crisis. Some people felt it was a military takeover of government, but later statements were made by military authorities to assure Nigerians that it was not military takeover, but just a bomb blast. Yes, it wasn't a good one at all. The Lagos Amore explosion was the accidental detonation of a large stock of military high explosives at a storage facility in the city of Lagos, Nigeria, on the 27th of January 2002. The fires created by the debris from this explosion burned down a large section of northern Lagos and created a panic that spread to other areas. As people fled the flames, many stumbled into a concealed canal and drowned. The government of Nigeria launched an inquiry which blamed the Nigerian army for failing to properly maintain the base or to decommission it when instructed to do so in 2001. After the explosions, the Nigerian army came out with an annoying statement. The statement read, "On behalf of the military, we are sorry. This is an old ammunition depot with high caliber bombs. Some efforts were being made in the recent past to try to improve the storage facility, but this accident happened before the high authorities could do what was needed." End of statement. This statement provoked fury from the people of Lagos, who claimed that the military was making excuses for their mistakes and that nothing would be done to improve safety at other neglected ammunition dumps, many of which had not even properly been maintained since Nigeria gained independence in 1960. Some said since Nigeria gained democracy following 20 years of military rule. There were widespread fears in the immediate aftermath of the explosion that it signified the beginning of a military coup, although the government later released a statement ruling out this possibility. The various relief agencies, including the Red Cross and Red Crescent, provided aid to the thousands of homeless and lost people in the weeks following the disaster, attempting to reunite at least 2,000 separated or displaced families. People whose homes had survived were evacuated from Ikeja in order that military explosives experts could remove large quantities of unexploded munitions from the area. The evacuees and refugees were housed in temporary accommodation at the Ikeja Police College and the Abati Barracks in Yaba. The recovery process in Ikeja took some years as the rebuilding program was both lengthy and expensive, and many people suffering homelessness and poverty in this period. Many people suffered homelessness and poverty in this period due to the loss of their houses and livelihoods in the fire. It was a bad story. I've not seen a book yet on this Lagos explosion, but there's a report, Amori explosion in Lagos, Nigeria, by the World Health Organization. It was written in 2003. You can get that report. Exploded in flames upon landing at the Kanu National Airport in northern Nigeria. National Airport in northern Nigeria, killing 176 persons of the 202 persons on board. The chartered Boeing 707 passenger flight crashed while attempting to land at the Kanu International Airport. It is one of the worst aviation disasters ever to take place in Nigeria, as 176 passengers and crew perished in the crash. But however, there were 26 survivors. The aircraft involved in the accident was a 2-year-old Boeing 707 3D3C JY8DO, owned by Alia Royal Jordanian Airlines, operating on behalf of the Nigeria Airways. It first flew in 1971 and was powered by 4 Pratt and Whitney Jetty 3D engines. The Boeing 707 operated by Alia had been chartered by Nigeria Airways to fly pilgrims back from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia to Lagos, Nigeria. Bad weather in Lagos caused the crew to divert to Kano. Kano International Airport was experiencing high winds at the time. The aircraft landed nose wheel first, and the nose wheel collapsed after hitting a depression in the runway. The right main landing gear leg subsequently collapsed. The 707 turned 180 degrees ex-course from the runway and caught fire. At the time it occurred, the Kano air disaster was the deadliest ever aviation accident, a dubious distinction it only held for about 14 months when Turkish Airlines Flight 981 crashed in France, killing 346 persons. Now, what are the what is the reports? What's the accident report? Yes, the transportation board reports to that accident. What came out of it? What came out of the investigation? There are some of the issues we'll be reading down tomorrow. We'll let you know tomorrow. Some of the things that came out of that investigation. Then on 23rd of January 2007, an unidentified gunmen in the southern oil city of Port Harcourt in Rivers State, South Nigeria, kidnapped two engineers, one American and one British, in what was at the time suspected to be a move by a section of members of the Niger Delta militants to extort money from the corporations these expatriates were working for. Big international oil corporations are bound in the Niger Delta area of Nigeria, and militant groups at the period took to kidnapping expatriates who work for these oil companies and later released them for ransom. The expatriates were, however, released on hot. The Briton was released on February 7th, 2007, and the American was released on February 17th, same year. Though without ransom, they would have been released. Ransoms were paid, and some people went home happy, while others went home sad. That's the situation. Tomorrow we'll continue the program. We really do want to thank you for being part of it. We do hope you enjoy the package. And for those of you that we are not able to take your calls, we want to apologize for that because we had to read out the stories. That's why I couldn't take all the calls. By tomorrow, we can still call in so that we talk about some of these issues. We are attempting to look at some of the early political crises. On the 30th of January, on the 30th of January 1962, yes, very heavy political bigwigs from southwest, south, and northern Nigeria assembled in the city of Jos to take a decision on the crisis uh, in the Middle Belt, as well as the crisis in uh, western Nigeria. We will look at it and possibly talk about it tomorrow. Jos has always been a very important political city in Nigeria, and that cannot be underscored. Thank you very much. On behalf of the production crew led by Yuba Adams, my name remains Mbum Ferdinand. I want to thank everyone who has made this program a possibility. For sponsorship drive, call 08032851135. The program is a production of History Desk Television. Thank you very much. My name remains Mbum Ferdinand. Join us again tomorrow, same time. We are out.